So in Halo 2, there is a secret Warthog, but this Warthog is on a mission that doesn't have any vehicles, and the steps to activate it are really complicated and weird. So can I find this secret Warthog? Let's give it a shot! So this Warthog doesn't normally exist. But on the mission Cairo Station in Halo 2, it can be activated through a careful set of steps and tricks, but that doesn't explain why a Warthog spawns in on a mission that has no vehicle section. Well, about 10 years ago, a guy named DrBizz discovered a Warthog that was scripted on a Vec 3 path. Basically what this means is that there was a vector rail that the Warthog was scheduled to go on, and this section was cut completely from the game. Based upon the location of the Warthog and now the Halo 2 anniversary graphics, it's likely that the Warthog was scheduled to be scripted on a rail that brings it into the In Amber Clad, which is the UNSC frigate. But because of the developers' laziness, we can actually spawn in the Warthog still because they didn't cut it out. But first, you have to play through the entire mission, which sucks. So in order to pull this off, we need to do a couple of things. First, we need to play through the beginning of the mission until we get to the second carrier. Then, once the Athens blows up, this door will open. Okay, now that I'm at this part's extremely important because this is going to be my checkpoint later. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but I put on the Thunderstorm skull because one of the elites in this next section gives you an automatic checkpoint when he's killed, but only when this skull is activated. The Thunderstorm skull simply just upgrades the ranks of enemies. If this skull is not activated, this elite does not count as a checkpoint. I would need to use this checkpoint later, so basically this elite would be a mobile checkpoint. But that leads us into our next challenge. I would need to go ahead and kill the enemies just ahead while leaving the elite behind in a room so that he wasn't constantly killing me or chasing me from behind. So at this point, I'm just going to clear out this room, make sure I have no obstructions. I need to make sure my elite is intact for later. So after clearing out this room, I had to backtrack to the room where the elite was stored and transport him safely through the mission. In order to get this elite to chase me, I first have to be close enough and activate him into a rage state. Then he'll pull out an energy sword and start chasing you. But these elites are pretty fast, so you have to keep a good pace ahead of them. I needed to take him to the doorway right before the next room of the room that I just cleared out. Right behind me, I'm a little scared. I would store him here and then clear out the next section of the mission for our next step. Okay, I'm just going to leave him in that hallway for now. So the spot where this Warthog spawns is in the outside area of Cairo Station. And our challenge is that we need to somehow get this elite to the next section of the mission without him deloading. But if you cross through this doorway at the end of the hallway with Miranda Keyes and Sergeant Johnson, the elite and everything behind it in the previous section will automatically despawn. So we would need to find a way to skip doing this entirely. We would need to find a way to skip doing this room entirely. Because once you hit the authorized personnel only checkpoint, that's the trigger that actually deloads the Warthog from being able to be used completely. So how would we do this? Well, we would need to overload the room by stuffing as many objects as possible in it. If done correctly, you can actually spawn above this room. Well, what about our elite? So there's actually an adjacent room that Miranda Keyes and Sergeant Johnson are scripted to go into. If we put the elite in this room, it actually hovers above the next section of the mission in some places. So if I overload the room and spawn above, I can actually despawn the other room as well and get the elite into the next section of the mission without triggering the authorized personnel only checkpoint. But I have a little bit of a problem with getting the elite into this room. Miranda Keyes and Sergeant Johnson. These two are really good at killing Covenant enemies and they won't stop until they're dead. I would need to hide both Miranda Keyes and Sergeant Johnson in the train car above the stairway just as you come into this hallway. If you put them anywhere else, they're scripted to go to this room, so they'll just keep going and fighting enemies. Okay, I need to put Johnson and Miranda up in this car so they don't destroy my elite here. So now that they're up there, I'm going to clear out these enemies that are up here. So now that I had my enemies cleared out, I needed to throw some preliminary grenades at the boxes already in the room. I wanted enough space to stuff every available box in this hallway into the doorway without any problems. Okay, so I'm just going to stuff basically everything that I can into this room before I cross it, because once I cross it, I'll actually load into it. What I'm trying to do is stuff enough objects in this so that the second player actually loads above this. That's how you get the Warthog to spawn in. And I just killed myself with the box. Damn it. Just about to say, you gotta be careful because these things will bite you. Come on, dude. Okay, looking around, I think that I've gotten every box in this area. So now what I need to do is take my elite forward into the mission. Take him all the way to this door over here. Yeah, he's confused. That's good. Looks like he will drop right down. So with our elite in this room, we were now ready to do our next step. We needed to have our second player die and then our first player go into the room with the boxes. If done correctly, the second player would spawn above this room. Then the first player could die and spawn on them. Boom! Player 2 spawned above me. Bam! The player 2 spawned on the top of here, so I just died and spawned out there. Basically, we're skipping this entire section. What needs to be done is basically I'm just going forward into the mission. So this is going to despawn, and he's actually going to drop that platform below. You can't actually take him to the back of this because he'll just jump right off the edge, or he'll spawn right off the edge, rather. So now we just need to play until the next section of the mission is complete and the elevator comes to a rest. Once the doors to the next section of the mission open, we're going to quickly do a grenade jump back to where we just were. If done correctly, I can get a checkpoint that will allow me to reset in the case that anything happens. Okay, we got a little checkpoint here. It's spawned in the H2A graphics, but nothing is actually there on the regular graphics. So now that we're here, we need to walk down this exact path so we don't die from fall damage. Got a little problem. He noticed me. So this area of the mission is now deloaded, which means it's a giant flat area and the elite can see me from pretty much anywhere. So I have to walk away in enough time that he doesn't follow me. And he's still following me. In order to even start the process to get this Warthog to spawn in, I would need to get this elite to somehow stop following me. But these guys have crazy range and can see insane distances. That's some crazy range right there. And you might have noticed I activated camouflage while this elite was chasing me. So to make this easier, I put on the Envy Skull, which allows you to trade your flashlight for active camo, and you can use it whenever you want. He's looking at me, but he can't see me this far away. I would need to activate this and then run far enough away that the elite didn't see me. But this was way more challenging than I thought it was going to be. He's still following me? Okay, so if you mess up, you actually have to start from the previous checkpoint. Okay, he doesn't see me at this distance. Oh my, he does. After 5 minutes, I was able to avoid the elite long enough to set up for this trick. But now I need to explain to you exactly how we're going to spawn a Warthog out of thin air. So in order to get this Warthog to spawn, we need to make sure it's the only available thing that can spawn in. And the way to do this? Overloading the RAM of the mission. If we put enough objects on the map, Eventually, one of the players will spawn without a gun. Then you need to pick up to 8 items. The Warthog needs 5 separate items to spawn in. A horn, its wheels, the turret, an antenna, and the body. I think that's all of them. So basically, I need to keep killing player 2 over and over and over again. And there's a weird mechanic about Halo 2 that I have to be cautious of. If you are not within the field of view of grenades and weapons and bodies, they will despawn. So I have to make sure that one player is looking at this pile the entire time. So I'm just killing him over and over and over. I'm trying to overload the map with items. So once he spawns in with no weapons, then I'll know I can go to my next step. After about 10 minutes of killing the other player, they didn't spawn in. What sometimes happens is there's a delay in the second player spawning in, and sometimes they don't even spawn in at all. But they eventually successfully spawned in without any weapons. And I made a pretty big mistake. Okay, he has spawned in with no weapons. Oh shit, I just looked away. Oh wait. If you look closely, I looked too far to the left and a bunch of weapons despawned. Oh, well, I wasn't recording that. I got it all set up, and then an elite hit me in the back, and then hit my partner in the back, and we both died, so I had to do all this again. So, after resetting this and killing the other player over 30 times, my second player was starting to not spawn in again. This meant that I was close to overloading the map. Sometimes the other player won't spawn in for a while, just wait for that. If they don't spawn in at all, you gotta pick up some items, probably, or jump. After another 10 minutes of setup, I was ready to try to get this Warthog to spawn in again. You f***ing piece of shit. So after another 10 minutes setting this all up again, I finally had my players spawn in without a weapon. And my first thought was to have them pick up 5 grenades, the 5 elements needed for the Warthog. After doing this, you then have to go to the red sign on the floor and jump up to activate the load zone. If done correctly, this would spawn a piece of the Warthog in or the Warthog entirely. And it didn't work. And then I noticed the elite noticed me again, so I just restarted this again. But this time, I didn't want to have to deal with this elite sneaking up from behind me and killing me, so I repositioned myself in the corner and decided to kill the second player this way. I wanted to make sure that I always had eyes on this piece of shit. So after another 10 minutes, I was set up and ready to do this again, except this time I picked up 4 grenades. Okay, I have one player watching the pile. Now I'm just going to go over to this red arrow. Jump. I didn't get it that time. So I set it up one more time, and then the elite found me again. The next time I decided I was sick of this elite ruining my plans to get this Warthog, so I decided to put him in the opposite corner of the station. This way I could hide in the corner of the wall and he would not have any visibility towards me whatsoever. So I got this set up once more, and this time I picked up only 3 grenades. The elite was chasing my second player, but as long as I jumped and the Warthog spawned in, it wouldn't matter. There it is, I got it! Hell yeah! Now that the Warthog was spawned in, I had my second player lure the elite to the far corner that he was in before so he couldn't see us. The Warthog has a pretty strange mechanic where after 3 minutes it will actually despawn entirely. That is, unless you are in the Warthog for this 3 minutes. And the first time I ever tried to do this, I learned that the hard way. So after waiting 3 minutes in this Warthog, I parked it near the end of the Cairo station where the elite was chasing me. Then I drove the Warthog to the door which you would normally use to proceed through the mission. What I didn't tell you guys is, my objective was never to just get the Warthog. The whole reason I needed this elite for a checkpoint was because I was going to attempt to launch this Warthog all the way up to the top of the MAC gun and land on it. But I would need to create a stack of plasma grenades to basically use as a stick of TNT. I needed enough power to get up to the top of this, and I estimated that 10 plasma grenades would get it done. In Halo 2, there's a skull called the Pinata skull. When this skull is activated, it allows you to beat grenades out of your teammates and enemies like candy. So I would need to hit 10 plasma grenades out of player 2, and then shoot them into a nice organized pile. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to move these into position. For a second there, I thought it despawned. I was about to... Whew. So now that I had this grenade pile set up, I needed to have my second player go and kill the elite just as I had the Warthog parked right before the pile. This would give me the checkpoint I need to then do this Warthog launch. So I'm having player 2 stare at the stack. I'm going to get in the hog. Okay, so now that I'm in position, I have to have player 2 go kill that elite. Finally, I'm so excited about this. For my checkpoint. Boom! After an hour and a half, I'm finally set up and ready to do this. There we go. We're getting some speed now. No. Okay, got the right trajectory. I just need to get one that's a little bit heavier. Come on. Ooh, this might be good. Huh. Height, not distance. Come on. I think I have a speed. Fun little tidbit I found out. If you get the Warthog anywhere near the Mac gun while it's blasting, you actually die. Bam. There we go. Keep moving. Oh, come on. In Halo 2, you can actually get in and out of your Warthog in midair to reset fall timer. And that's what I tried doing on this attempt. But it didn't work. Ah! After around 30 minutes of attempting this, I found that when I did get the height needed to get to the tower, I wasn't getting the correct direction. I was throwing the plasma grenade just in front of the stack of plasma grenades, and this was bouncing back and then exploding under my Warthog. So two things were happening. When I did get the Warthog in the correct direction, it got almost no height. When I got the right height, it got almost no direction. So I would need to retool where I was throwing the plasma grenade at the stack completely. And I had an idea. What if I just threw it underneath the Warthog and then drove a little bit forward, as opposed to throwing it behind the pile and then driving into the explosion? Oh yeah. And on just my third attempt of this new grenade position, this happened. There we go. No way! No way! Oh, no way! I really didn't think I was going to make that. Woo-hoo! That was sick. How many people you think ever drove a Warthog up on top of this? For those of you who said, oh, you didn't land it, you didn't land it. You didn't touch on the wheels. How about that? Come on! That counts. That counts. His wheels. Yes, suck on that. Suck on that. Wait, this is all solid? I didn't even know that.